Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Football Fignuts podcast. This is Season 4, Episode 7. If you counted all of them over the last 4 years, that's 157. My name is Craig.
My name is Britt.
And Britt, we are here for our wide receiver extravaganza round table. Wide table? It could be a wide table.
It could be a wide table.
Exactly. So
it's a pandemic. It needs to be a wide table.
That's right, folks. We have special guests. And that was Cinch.
That, Craig?
Hi, Cinch.
I'm Cinch. Hello.
And over there, we have Sean. We keep him in the corner.
Oh, the show killer.
Oh, he's show killer. Though, you know,
everybody loves me.
If it's a round table, does it have corners? Think about it.
No cornerbacks in this one.
Yes, we're back. How is everyone? Is everyone good?
Doing okay.
Doing okay.
Doing okay.
We're good?
Doing great. You know why?
Why?
Because I have a beer in front of me.
So let's start where we always start. Sean, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a tart ale brewed with cherries, and it's from Firefly Hollow.
Wait a minute. You brought Sheebans to the round table for running backs, and you brought a tart to this one, and you wonder why you're the show killer.
Oh, come on. It's good. And that
should be a slogan.
One from that one from the pool party, the Baby Seal pool party was pretty good. All right.
Craig, what are you drinking? Save us.
I am drinking something from New Park Brewing. It is a blender brunch. It is their latest Berliner Weiss sour ale. So it is cranberries and tangerines.
Another fruity ale.
Jeez.
Cinch,
I did have that,
us.
Craig. It was very good.
Cinch, save us from the fruity ales.
I am drinking a fouled up.
There we go.
Dry hop, generous amounts of Citra and Mosaic hops, and it doesn't taste like all kinds of fruity crap.
No, that's from. I brought that to you from somewhere in Waterbury.
Yeah. What is that? What's the name of that? Brassworks.
Brassworks. That was very good. I am drinking vitamin water because I'm drinking vitamin water. So, but as Craig said, it's time to talk about wideouts. Are you guys ready to talk about the wide receivers?
Oh, yeah.
I'm ready.
Give me
there's
a
a
second.
lot of them.
Great. Well, we're going to start with the long list of wide receivers that have opted out for the season.
All right, let's
start by
that.
updating the updated opt-out list. So the following guys are not going to play in 2020. So we've got some names that are familiar. We don't have like a groundbreaking name, but we've got some familiar names. So I'm just going to run down the list. We've got Travis Benjamin of the 49ers, Marquise Goodwin of the Eagles, who I'm pretty sure when he was filling out the form hurt his hand, Josh Doctson of the Jets, Damari Scott from the Giants, Marquise Lee, who I didn't even know was on the Patriots, Albert Wilson from the Dolphins, Alan Hearns from the Dolphins, Devin Funches from Green Bay, Geronimo Allison, who became a Lion at some point, Stephen Guidry from the Cowboys, and DeAnthony Thomas from the Ravens. So a lot of names there. Let me just ask the round table right off the top. Do any of these opt-outs, are they fantasy relevant? Is any of these guys you're like, oh, man, I'm upset about blank?
Nope.
Next man up.
Next man up. Yeah, there's no major names here. I kind of hoped Marquise Goodwin would add somebody to the Eagles in that if he could stay healthy, he might be worthwhile. But when they trade him to the Eagles, I was like, oh, great. Eagles just got another, set up another cot in the injured room because he gets hurt an awful lot. So, okay, so we're gonna jump right into our. I'm looking at the news and notes. I don't see really anything epic that's happened in the wideout rankings in the last couple days. Does anybody have anything burning about wide receiver news that I'm missing?
Let me see.
I did a search today. I didn't see a lot of news on the wideouts.
The Dolphins, because Hearns opted out, the Dolphins signed Chester Rogers from the Colts.
Oh, remember him?
I don't think that's really going to affect anything drastically. So, other than that, I don't think there's been much.
Okay.
John Ross is on the COVID list after his son tested positive for COVID-19.
God damn
so
it.
He left camp and flew back to LA.
Can you say that?
I just did. Hey, this podcast is marked as explicit for the last 4 years. All right, so people know.
That is why. Okay, so let's jump right into the rankings then tonight. We don't have a ton of news. We had a ton of news on the running back end. Let's talk about our consensus rankings. So, what was interesting this year was that we were either all on the same page or we were all on completely different pages, and we were all on the same page for the first 5 picks here, largely on the same page. We have different orders, and we're going to argue a little bit about that. But our top 5, our consensus rankings, we got Michael Thomas at 1. All but one of our contributors put him at number 1, and we're going to rank on the guy who did not put him at number 1. Number 2 was Davante Adams. Number 3, Julio Jones. Number 4 was Tyreek Hill. Number 5 was DeAndre Hopkins. That is where the Kumbaya Fest ends, my friends, because number 6 was Chris Godwin. Number 7, we've got Adam Thielen. Number 8, Mike Evans. Number 9 is Kenny Golladay. Number 10, Amari Cooper. We've got Devontae Parker at 11. DJ Moore at 12. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods back-to-back at 13 and 14. A.J. Brown wraps up the top 15. Then we've got DK Metcalf. Juju Smith-Schuster. Remember when he was a top 5 option last year? Yeah, me too. Number 18 is Allen Robinson. 19 is Keenan Allen. 20, Cortland Sutton. 21, Odell Beckham Jr. 22 is Calvin Ridley. We got Christian Kirk at 23rd. We got the Tyler twins, Boyd and Lockett at 24 and 25. And then rounding out our top rankings, we've got Stephon Diggs at 26. So let's talk about the top 5, because each of us have something. I'm looking at the rankings. I'm looking just to make sure none of us had the top 5 in the same order. The closest we had was Craig had the top 3, 1, 2, 3, and then his 4 and 5 are flipped. So let's talk about the top 5. So it's Thomas, Adams, Julio, Tyreek, and Hopkins. Cinch, you had Julio Jones. We have him consensus at 3. You had him all the way down at 5. So you like Michael Thomas, Davante Adams, Tyreek Hill, and DeAndre Hopkins better than Julio Jones. Tell me why, even though Julio's still in your top 5, why you rank the other 4 ahead of him. What is there concern about Julio?
It's because Julio is afraid of the end zone, and he just won't go there, and that is why.
That's a fair point.
There you have it.
That's a fair point. So we're going to let's see what Sean's rankings did. Sean actually has Julio at number 4, but he has Tyreek Hill at number 3. So so that kind of makes sense. I'm trying to find a point there to talk about. There really isn't one.
Well, how about the only point that I have Hopkins lower than Jones is because Hopkins is with the new team. I mean, he's still great, but the change, maybe that brings him down just a notch under Julio, because Julio, again, like Cinch said, is afraid of the end zone. So
there is one person who was high on Julio on this broadcast, and it's me. I have Julio at number 1.
You've always been high on Julio.
I have always been high on Julio. I've been trying to get into rehab for a while, but
can't quit you, man.
I just can't. Don't bring up Brokeback Mountain.
That is reserved for Frank Gore.
That's reserved for Frank Gore, who did not make my running back rankings this year. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, the spoiler alert, he did not make my running back rankings. Cinch is absolutely right. The fear of the end zone is there, but I do think I said this last year too, and I was wrong. I think Atlanta's going to be better this year. I do expect Atlanta to improve a great deal. The one guy I had really low in that 5 that you guys all had higher, Cinch had him at 4, but both Sean and Craig have Davante Adams at 2. I have Davante Adams at 5. I want to hear from Sean and Craig. Why do you think Davante Adams is the number 2 receiver in fantasy football this year?
Okay, I'll go. I don't mind going.
Go ahead.
Well, he's the only game in town. First of all, he's going to get fed that ball a lot. Not to mention, Favre has a little bit of a bone to pick. Favre, oh my God.
Wow, we just went back in time like 23 years.
Yeah. Rodgers has a bone to pick with them. Well, kind of like how Favre had a bone to pick because they picked Rodgers. But
Rodgers.
Yeah. Rodgers has a bone to pick. I think he's gonna try to prove that you know what? All right, you gave me nothing. I'm gonna make something out of it, and feed the ball.
The problem with that logic is it works better with the running back than the wide receiver. We've seen historically, think about Randy Moss in Minnesota. The moment they realized Randy Moss was the target because Chris Carter was starting to get older and Moss was going to be the man, they started double teaming and they start taking him away. When you've only got one target and it's not a guy who runs, and Davante Adams runs a fair few routes, you can take that away with good cornerback play. I worry that Adams is and Rodgers is known for forcing the ball. When to guys that he likes, you're right. He will force the ball to guys he likes. So if he likes a target like he likes Adams, but Adams also has the injury history. I don't see Adams producing better than either a Julio or a Tyreek this year. I just don't see it. I just don't. Anybody else have thoughts on Davante Adams?
Same thing with Sean. Davante Adams signed a 4-year deal in 2017, so I think he knows that I know this is going to be the third year, but those contract talks are going to start this year because they never. Let's be honest, folks. They don't start the year the contract expires. Aaron Rodgers. This is going to be his quote-unquote revenge season to tell the Packers front office to go screw yourself for drafting a quarterback. So I think, on one side, what Britt said is right. He's going to force the ball to Davante Adams a lot. But when it works, Davante Adams is going to have a lot of yards and a lot of catches. So
I've seen Rodgers for way too many years, as I saw far from it way too many years, being a Chicago Bears fan, and it's just they always find a way. He finds a way to Adams, and Adams finds the way to the ball. So even with good cornerback play, he's a better receiver than a lot of those cornerbacks.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so our outside of our top five, once we get into that second group of people, I mean, Cinch said it that it's basically, off the air. Cinch said it's basically a bunch of guys named Joe at that point. So where is your tier line? Where is the drop off between the guys who are worth drafting and the guys who are just there and because they can catch a ball occasionally? Is it after Hopkins? Because number 6 is Chris Godwin. Do we think Godwin's going to have a big year?
Nah.
Craig is down on Godwin,
okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
He had such a great year last year, and you could see regression, but I just of course you have a new quarterback and a different style of play, so you could see regression there. But you know what? You have to go with where you've seen the production and kind of go with what your gut feeling is. I mean, is he better than Galladay? I don't know. But you can make that argument.
Is there a drop off between? Is that where you go over your cliff in your Price is Right game? You got Michael Thomas, Davante Adams, Julio Jones, and Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Hopkins. We all agree they're top 5.
Yeah.
After there, is that the first cliff?
Yes,
I think so.
You have about another 5 to 7 maybe where your next tier is, where you could go there.
But that's your first major cliff, you think, in the wide receivers.
Oh yeah.
Cinch, what do you think? Is Hopkins the end of the great the first tier, or the first big tier?
Yeah, I think so. I say top 5, and then you probably have about a group of about 6 players there. Mm-hmm. The one thing I wanted to mention about Godwin,
please
look at targets. His targets the last 2 seasons have been 95 and 121. That's his targets. That's with the same coach, but now you got a different quarterback. So
who likes to spread the ball?
Yes, but the quarterback Brady that likes to spread the ball, that's it. He likes to spread it. So he's not. Jameis Winston was throwing it to you whether you were there alone or with the other team. He's throwing it.
Right.
So that it makes you wonder, well, will the targets drop? If they don't drop, you got to figure he's going to have more passes accurately thrown to him.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. So if it's not 121 targets, if it goes down to like 90 targets, but they're higher quality passes, he may catch just as many or more balls. I mean, if he's catching 80 out of 120, but he's going to catch 85 out of 95 because it's a better passer, a more accurate passer. That's a trade I'm willing to make. I'll say this about Brady. Brady plays favorites to a certain extent like Aaron Rodgers does, but Brady's favorites tend to be guys that he perceives to work hard and do their job. Rodgers, I don't know how he picks the people because he likes Alan Lazard for reasons I'll never understand. But if Chris Godwin's going to go out there and bust his butt, then Brady will look for him. I mean, we saw that with his connection with Edelman the last couple of years pretty clearly, I think.
Well, he had nobody else.
That too.
I'll tell you right now, if he sees that Evans is dropping balls like, Craig always likes to point out, Godwin's going to get a lot more targets than he is. You know what? He's going to trust him more. So, Evans got to catch that ball if he's going to want to be considered, close to Godwin.
That's exactly it. That's absolutely it. I mean, if you start dropping passes and first off, you're going to hear about it on the sideline. Brady's got no problem walking up to you and saying, do you want to catch the ball today or what? I mean, we've clearly seen that. So I agree with that too. Number 7, we've got Adam Thielen. Then we got Mike Evans at 8 and Kenny Golladay at 9. I think the Godwin, Thielen, Evans is a little shelf off the next cliff. I'm not big on Kenny Golladay. Sean, you rated him really high. Talk to me about Kenny Golladay. What's this faith in Kenny Golladay?
Faith in Kenny Golladay. You know what? He has his quarterback back. There it is. I mean, he played half a season without him last year, and now he has him back again. I mean, so unless you see him, injured again, which I guess you get to take into consideration, but he can improve again. With and he didn't have a bad season last year without him. So with Stafford back for a whole year, I could see him definitely being in that top 7 range. So
Cinch, Kenny Golladay on the same tier as Thielen and Mike Evans?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. He put the numbers up that he did last year where he didn't have his quarterback. Stafford was gone. And really, if there's one QB that I worry about this season, it's Matthew Stafford. Because if anyone, his personal life, his wife has cancer or had cancer, I don't know if he's in remission now. If there's anyone who you could see just saying, look, I've got to step out, it would be him. But Golladay put up almost 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns last season, and he did this with a bunch of guys named Joe at quarterback. So Galladay's got the talent, and if he's got the quarterback, he'll be a top 5.
Wow.
Craig.
I think just the way Stafford throws and just going by the volume, if you have Golladay as your like low tier number 1, I don't think that's really a bad thing.
Okay.
Just another thing to throw in there.
Yeah.
The Lions are going to be firing their coach. It's overdue by 2 years when they hired the guy. Matt Patricia's not good. So if the Lions are losing every game like I think they will be, they'll be passing that much more. And that's even more reason why you'd want Golladay or Marvin Jones Jr.
Can I just tell you what my major problem is with Matt Patricia? It's very simple. The dude looks like Bluto from Popeye. And he looks like a guy who's going to walk up and go, "Hey, buddy, that's my stool at the bar," and kick your ass. And then he steps up to the mic and he's like, "The following guys aren't playing this week." And you're like, whoa, what? Who's the 14-year-old dubbing his voice? It's not even a legit football complaint. I just can't listen to the guy talk because he looks like he should sound like a cross between a biker and Bluto, and he comes across as so much softer.
Do you know he's a trained like rocket scientist?
He is actually a rocket scientist.
He actually is a rocket scientist.
So then why aren't his players faster?
Too bad that doesn't translate to football.
I guess not.
But
you know what my problem is with him? He's got a laminated piece of paper with him, and he has a pencil behind his ear. Have you ever tried to write with a pencil on a laminated piece of paper?
Ain't happening.
Doesn't really work.
So maybe
Can't
he's
do
a
it.
rocket scientist. He just might not be that bright.
Get the guy a dry erase marker, will you? Something. All right, so we're number 10 on our list is Amari Cooper, and this is where we get to have our first real fight. Because Cinch and Sean both have Amari Cooper inside the top 10.
No.
Craig and I barely have him inside the top 20. I want to hear from Cinch and Sean because you made a convincing argument for Galladay. I want to hear from the two of you. Why is Amari Cooper a top 10 wide receiver?
Dak has something to prove. The opportunities there the team isn't bad. He's gonna have he's got the talent too. So I don't see how. I see him better than Juju. I see him better than Thielen. I see him better than Evans.
Wow. I think Sean's on the payroll.
I'm sorry, but I do. Evans, definitely. Thielen, I know he's the number one guy there now, but I don't know.
Did the Cowboys feed you any other talking points that you want to share before we move on? Or
all right, let me try here. Amari Cooper is going to have a full season in Dallas, so he should be more prepared to do what he did when he got to Dallas. Dak and that offense, last season they threw the ball all over the place. So now, even though there's a new head coach who is, I don't know what level of quality you would say, but I think he's a good, solid head coach where Garrett couldn't find his car in the parking lot unless it beeped. They like throwing it all over the place. They kept their offensive coordinator so they could keep the same offense. So that's why I think Cooper's top 10.
You got a coach going out the door who they literally couldn't fire. He became Milton from Office Space. They literally came to the point where on a Friday they had to say to him, "We are changing the locks." And that's not a joke. They changed the codes on the doors.
And Britt, that guy's the offensive coordinator for the team that you think is going to win the division.
Yes. He was a fantastic offensive coordinator. He just never should have been the head coach. He was really good running the offense.
Some people just can't go past that coordinator line. Like, head coaching is a completely different job.
Cough, Wade Phillips.
Exactly.
Wade Phillips, fantastic defensive mind. You put him in charge of a team, you're going to win 5 games. There's just those guys. Matt Patricia. We just talked about him.
He was never that good of a defensive coordinator.
You don't think so? That was my next question. My next question is, you would not take him back right now?
No.
As a defensive coordinator, you wouldn't take him?
He couldn't be the guy that gets the coffee for the defensive coaching staff. No.
Wow.
Okay, that's bold words. Bold words. All right, see, I'm not convinced on the Amari Cooper thing.
The Patriots' defense at the first half of last season, where they were all world, was because they didn't have Patricia anymore. He is the most conservative, never wanted to blitz, just play a basic defense. No.
Well, you can do that when you have an offense that produces like the Patriots did then. Craig, help me out here. Why should I not be looking at Amari Cooper? You're a Cowboy truther. You've already told me that Zeke is on his way out with the COVID. So why is Amari Cooper?
He might be. For me, the Cowboys, they just look, at least from the outside, they look really unorganized. They have a new coach. COVID didn't help them, gel as a team at all because they've had Zoom meetings. I've mentioned the issues with Zeke, and I think if they try to, they had contract issues with Dak. So all of that, for me, the way I look at it, you have all those issues between players and coaches, and they say they get resolved, like Zeke's contract, Dak's contract, but players don't forget that happened. That's still in the back of their head, and yeah, they want to win, but now all of a sudden there's a split. It's like, oh, now it's me against them, and I think it just creates a whole bunch of holes in the team, and then they're going to try to rely more on Amari Cooper, who, let's face it, folks, he has a drop issue. I'm not going to read articles from the Dallas Star saying it's been overrated, because you can look it up how many drops he's had, and it's a problem. And you don't want your number one receiver having a drop problem.
So here's what I want to put in there about that, because Cinch made a point about him having more time as a Cowboy. he was traded in 2018. He did have a full season as a Dallas Cowboy last year.
Yeah, but now he has more time.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. That's a simple fact. The more time you have to play with somebody, particularly in the wide receiver quarterback familiarity, the better that's going to get. He only had 4 games over 100 yards last year. I mean, again, we're talking from a fantasy perspective. I look at him as very inconsistent. I mean, in week 5, he catches 11 of 14 for 226. Fantastic. He's the major target. The next week, he's targeted twice. Then he's got 5 targets, 7 targets, 14, 8, 2. I mean, it's like I don't know who he is. I don't know who he is. He had 119 targets across 16 games. What's the quickie math on that? Let me do that really quick. I will pull up the old calculator.
You're the math guy.
But I'm not, because
what did I say? You were the math guy.
119 divided by 16. Oh God, my calculator's not working.
Oh no.
This is why we don't do it live. Okay, apparently 119 divided by 16 is 0, so I'm not doing something right here.
It's 9.
So,
there you go.
Is it 9? 7.4. 7.4. So he averaged 7 targets a game, but he had 1, 2, 3 games where he only had 2 targets last year. Aren't we worried about the consistency?
I have one question
and what if
for
he?
that.
So what if he has 9 targets and he drops 3 of them? Like, you know?
Well, he caught 79 of 119. I mean, his catch rate is pretty high. But what do you got, Sean?
I have one caveat with all this is that we're talking about that with Cooper. You have Mike. We have Mike Evans ranked 8th, and what's his catch rate? I mean,
I would like to point out that it's not we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's only that high because other people put him that high. I did not.
He's in the top 10, and yet, I don't know. I see him as being even worse than Amari Cooper for catching.
Amari Cooper's catch rate is over 66%. Mike Evans is at 55 and change.
There you go.
So there's no question. Oh, that's career. I'm sorry. Last year was 56 and change.
Well, there's my argument for.
There's no question about that. I'm not arguing that Evans should necessarily be ranked over Cooper. I'm trying to pull up his game slugs as well, because I think. But again, it's about consistency.
Yeah, and for me, it's just I just don't think Dallas.
Last year.
I don't think Dallas knows who they are. Like Jerry Jones wants them to be clearly the Super Bowl champions, for he's not the owner anymore. But as a team as a whole, I don't know, they seem lost. Like ever since that Zeke thing happened, where he stayed in Cabo and he gained like 30 pounds, and he came out and he was out of shape. Like,
I want to stay in Cabo and gain 30 pounds.
That would be nice. But I don't know. Ever since then, I don't know. They're just not the same.
All right. Moving on. Our next 5, the 11 through 15, is an interesting conversation. We've got Devontae Parker, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and A.J. Brown. Which one of those 5 guys, Parker, Moore, Kupp, Woods, or A.J. Brown, which one of them do you think has the best chance of moving into the top 10? Let's start with Cinch on this one.
I would go with Cooper Kupp, just because I think if he's healthy, he's always been the the steady third down reception guy. So if he stays healthy, could put together 16 games of that, it might be enough to put him into the top 10.
Nice. Craig?
Me, this year, I'm a Devontae Parker truther. So for me, it's gonna be Parker, because really 2 of the receivers opted out. He's the only main target in Miami, and I know we brought this up with Devontae Adams, but still, no matter who the quarterback is, whether it's Tua or Fitz, he's gonna get a lot of throws, a lot of looks. He was 6th last year and stat-wise as a receiver, fantasy-wise, so I think he just goes up from here.
You are such a Fitzmagic homer. It's not even funny. Did not make a difference what team he plays for. You just have this passion for him. That's
because he's brilliant.
He's brilliant until you rely on him. That's it. He's brilliant until you rely on him. Sean, what do you got in that top 5? Coop, what do we got? Parker, Moore, Kupp, Woods, or Brown?
Well, we know I'm not going to say Parker. Mine will be DJ Moore.
Explain.
Well, of those 5, he was my highest rated. So, he caught 87 receptions, only had 4 TDs. I think he can improve on that this year.
Parker at 9. Just saying.
Well, you know what? I could see a regression there. But anyway, I could see I can see an improvement with DJ Moore. So I would go with Moore.
I'm actually looking at AJ Brown. And yes, I knew. Wait, what's that reaction?
We all had somebody different. It's awesome.
I actually have DJ Moore ranked above AJ Brown in my personal rankings. Okay. But if you're asking me which one I think could have the potential, the reason that AJ Brown is lower on my list is because his quarterback is still, oh God, what's his name?
Tannehill.
Thank you. Who's that guy? Right? Yeah, Tannehill is.
Well, mine's Bridgewater, so
But again, the same criticism I just leveled on Craig about Devontae Parker and the quarterback being Fitzpatrick, that you can only rely on him as long as you don't need to rely on him, can absolutely be applied to Ryan Tannehill. I mean, how many years did we hear Ryan Tannehill's going to have his breakout year in Miami, and it just never came? Then he goes and he takes Tennessee to the AFC Championship. And can we be honest with ourselves for a moment? The Titans made the AFC Championship this year because of coaching. They were better. They were well coached. They beat the Patriots based almost solely on coaching. You cannot tell me that the Titans are better than the Patriots in terms of talent.
I don't think it was the coaching. I think it's that the Patriots offense was stagnant, and Brady just that whole game there was no one to throw it to.
There's that too, but once they had the lead,
credit is due. Tennessee beat them, but you know what? If he's such a good coach, they had the Chiefs. What was the score? They were up like 3 touchdowns or 2
that was
touchdowns?
Houston. That was Houston that took the big lead.
But I'm saying Tennessee had the lead. They were up by like 10 at one point early in the game. No, it's early in the game and it's only a 2 possession, but I think you're giving too much credit. I think he's a good, solid, up-and-coming coach, but I just think you gave too much credit to him.
Okay, but to be fair, the score at halftime in that game was Chiefs 21, Titans 17. The Titans did lead at the end of the first quarter 10-7. I mean, they may have been up as far as 17-7, but they were trailing by halftime. So
I'm misremembering.
Well, you may be remembering the fact that Houston went up like 3 touchdowns on us in that first game of the playoff run, and then Bill O'Brien decided he was the genius of the universe, and they ended up losing that game. But so where were we? Where am I? I need to sit down.
Ryan Tannehill.
Okay, so AJ Brown. If Ryan Tannehill can remember that he's not Ryan Tannehill, and the Titans are going to be, because that division, who else is in that division? Was that the AFC South?
That's the Colts, the Titans, the Texans.
Good division.
Who's the 4th team in that division?
Somebody else there.
There's Joey Bag of Donuts is down there or somebody. We don't know. But I mean, if Bill O'Brien is the genius he thinks he is, then they're going to be.
It's the Jags. Just so you know.
It's the Jags.
Oh, well,
there you go.
No other team there.
Well, we're talking about playoff contention, right? So the Jags can stay out of the conversation.
Weren't they in the playoffs like 2 years ago?
Sure, so was I, but that's beside the point.
AFC Championship game.
That's right. But who was the quarterback?
Some guy who is out of work right now.
Go ahead, say his name.
Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles. The answer to the question is Blake Bortles.
Who's on the Rams now?
Is Blake Bortles. I think his contract expired. I don't think they re-signed him.
He's out there. You want him?
Oh, sad.
If you pay him, you could have him co-host.
All right.
We might honestly actually have the Blake Bortles Memorial Studio because he might be out of football. He'd be the first one we named a studio out of after that actually dropped out of football after we named the studio out after him. That would be so sad. My God, Frank Gore outlasted Blake Bortles. Stop and think about that for a half a heartbeat.
Tom Brady outlasted him.
Moving on, because we got to get to quick hits. Believe it or not, the time is flying on us. Okay, quick hits. You guys know how this works. I give you a quick question. A lot of these are either or. You give me a yes, no, or whatever the proper response is, and 30 seconds of explanation. The first one, Godwin or Evans? Sean Main.
You know,
Time!
I'm going with Godwin.
Cinch.
I'm going with Godwin.
Godwin.
Because more reliable, and I think that's going to make a big difference with Brady.
Okay. Cinch. Godwin or
I
Evans?
take Evans because Evans reminds me of Moss. Moss was much better, but he reminds me of Moss. And I've already seen Moss work with Brady. So I pick Evans.
That's interesting. I like that perspective. Craig.
I'm not drafting anyone from the Bucks.
Or the Browns.
So I hear Godwin, Evans, and Fitzmagic as the answers across the board. I'm not really very big on either of them, but if I got to pick one, it's going to be Godwin. Same vein, Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods? Cinch.
I already said Kupp. I think if Kupp is healthy, he'll have the better season.
But do you think Kupp will stay healthy? Because you actually ranked Woods above Kupp.
Yeah, but I mean, Woods and Kupp have been the same numbers for the last couple of seasons when they both play. So flip a coin.
Okay. Craig.
I've always, or you too, we've always been big Bob Woods fans. I'm going to stick with Robert Woods only because of the concussion history with Kupp. Kupp gets hit the wrong way in one game and his career might be over. So.
And it's MXC. It's the MXC crunching sound.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go Woods as well. I'm gonna go Woods. Sean, did I ask you this already?
No, you haven't.
Okay, go ahead.
I think I'm going with Kupp in a PPR. I think is he more the short yardage guy? I don't know. I think, but I think Woods is more the home run hitter. So I'm gonna go with Kupp in a PPR just because I think he's gonna have more of those targets and more catches.
Okay, along the line of those either-ors on the same team, Lockett or Metcalf in Seattle? Let's start with Craig.
Almost kind of like this. That's a hard one. My first gut instinct is Metcalf.
Metcalf. Sean.
Again, that's a hard one too. I think it's a lot closer than the Kupp Woods one. I think I like Metcalf's upside more than Lockett. We know what Lockett is. He's more reliable maybe in a PPR. He's going to get those more catches. But I just think I like the upside of Metcalf better. I might go Metcalf, and with that, I'm going to open up my other beer.
Okay, we're going to go back to you and find out what that beer is after we hear from Cinch.
I take
Lockett or Metcalf?
I know what Lockett is. Metcalf had the one season. He was up and down. Now he's going to hit that sophomore jinx where he thinks he's better than he is. Come see him in season 3 in 2021. I would take Metcalf.
See, I'm exactly where you are. I like DK Metcalf. I like him a lot. I think he's got a lot of great potential. I worry that the hype train is going to carry him way up in the drafts that I'll be a part of, and I won't see a couple more than 1 or 2 shares of him. We do have him in the Scott Fish Bowl. So at least we have that 1 share. But we had this exact conversation, Lockett or Metcalf, during the Scott Fish Bowl draft, because I wasn't sure where to go with it, and I brought in you guys on it. Before we go any further with quick hits, Sean, what are you drinking? Please don't let it be.
I am drinking New Park Brewing Headband.
Okay, that's not fruity. That's a nice IPA.
Yes,
I almost ordered a case of that.
It is very good.
I see. I almost ordered a whole case of that this week too.
He did. He did.
That was the one that Craig and I were gonna get a case of, but Craig was like, "I can't put another half a case of beer in my fridge," and I'm like, "Well, I don't blame you." But all right, back to quick hits. Along the lane, we're gonna switch here. 2 guys. We ranked them right next to each other, and they're both named Tyler. Tyler Boyd and Tyler Lockett. Pick one. Let's start with me because I haven't started one yet. I'm gonna go Tyler Boyd. I love what Tyler Lockett is. I think he's got great upside, but I think that Boyd is on the verge of doing something special. So that's where I'm gonna go with that. Sean, Tyler Boyd or Tyler Lockett?
This I'm gonna go with Lockett. Because we know what his history is with Russell Wilson. We know what's going to happen there with Burrow in Cincinnati. I'm not sure what Boyd's going to be. Is he going to be the go-to guy now, or is AJ Green going to be healthy and reclaim the number one throne there? I don't know.
Cinch.
I take Lockett again. Anytime you're talking about a Bengal other than Mixon, and even with Mixon, the way I look at it, until they show me that they can score touchdowns, I just can't trust it. I mean, he's a solid NFL receiver, and I'm not knocking him. But I have a better idea of what Lockett's going to do if they ever let Russell Wilson just throw the ball. I mean, it's frustrating if you ever watch them. All they do is run. But I take
Except
Lockett.
for that Super Bowl they lost and they threw the ball. And they shouldn't have.
The one time.
Since
The one
then, all they
time.
will do is run the ball.
Craig, Lockett or Boyd?
Clearly it's Boyd. Also, you should definitely pay attention to college football, because I'll tell you this about Boyd. The last 2 seasons, he's had over 1,000 yards, and that was with Andy Dalton and Ryan Finley. And Tyler Boyd is a slot receiver, and you know what? Justin Jefferson, the number 1 receiver in LSU, is also a slot receiver, and he had over 1,500 yards. So clearly, Burrow enjoys using the slot receiver. He's used to it, but Tyler Boyd's experienced. It'll be a great combination.
That is some in-depth analysis right there. I like that.
Yeah. All right, couple more. Keenan Allen called out the league, specifically naming individuals on Twitter, including Tyreek Hill, saying that he was better than them. Yes or no, and why? Is Keenan Allen the best wide receiver in the AFC West? Let's start with Cinch.
No, he isn't, because of Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
But he might be the second best. Keenan Allen is very good. If he had a different quarterback, he might be even better. But he's going with a rookie or Tyrod. I can't start over Baker Mayfield Taylor. So, I mean, he's got no quarterback.
Fair enough. Craig.
Yeah, so unlike receivers, or running backs rather, receivers are very dependent on the quarterback, and I just don't know what that situation is in San Diego really compared to the Chiefs. So yeah, it's Hill.
Sean.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly Hill. You know, sometimes receivers that are possession receivers can work with a not so great quarterback, but clearly here it's Hill and Keenan Allen. I like you, but yeah, no, it's Hill.
Keenan Allen is out of his goddamn mind.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way he is a better wide receiver than Tyreek Hill.
Well, hold on though. I mean, this isn't like, pick your mediocre receiver. This is a really good receiver.
Oh no, I want him as a my third receiver.
I don't.
I'm saying Keenan Allen is very good. For him to say that,
Maybe second.
I want him to say that, but he's not better. But we're not talking about some also ran receiver.
No, definitely. I would take him as my third.
I'm gonna say something bold that I don't know that I can cash the check I'm about to write with my mouth. This is how bold this statement is. I think Jerry Jeudy has more fantasy points than Keenan Allen this year.
Oof.
Wow.
Oof.
I think Jerry Jeudy has more fantasy points. I think he's not even the number 2 wide receiver in the AFC West. Keenan Allen. I don't.
Wow.
I don't. We'll check the tape on that, and if I'm wrong on it, I'll have to eat my words. Keenan Allen can make me eat my words.
If it was Judy's second year, I would agree with that. But rookie, COVID, no camp, no.
That's all fair. That's all fair.
Can't
That brings me to the last point, which is about rookie wide receivers. Everyone's talking about CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy, but there's a couple of guys behind him. Henry Ruggs, T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson was mentioned. Who is the one rookie wide receiver that if you get a shot late in the draft, you want on your team, starting with Craig? T. Higgins, we know.
No, it's not T. Higgins. For me, it's going to be Denzel Mims. Because I think the Jets have a lot of potential on their offense, and he's going to be a very big part of it, especially since the Jets up their offensive line. And long as Sam Darnold could stop kissing everyone and, not get sick, I think the Jets have a really good receiving core around them.
Oh my God, Craig, you're insane.
Yeah. So
Sean.
you said not Jerry Jeudy?
I don't know. You can choose Jerry Jeudy if you want. I'm just saying that those are the two that are getting the most press, but there's a pretty good wide receiver core here.
After those two, which I think would be the top two, you got to go. I think I like Justin Jefferson's situation. I mean, they got rid of Diggs. He's the guy there, other than Thielen, so he's going to have the opportunity.
Cinch.
Henry Ruggs, he's the guy.
Interesting. And that's okay. That's interesting. What's very interesting to me is we're all picking different people here because mine is Michael Pittman Jr.
Wow.
I think Indy is poised to take a step forward. I know the whole quarterback thing is a mess there, but I think bringing in the veteran is a good step, and I think Frank Reich might be the second coming of Andy Reid, and we just haven't seen it yet in terms of offensive witchcraftery, for lack of a better word. I think that Indy's going to take a big step forward this year, and I think that Michael Pittman might actually be the best of the bunch in that list. And now, again, that's a very talented core. So, I mean, I'll keep my eye on it. But round 9 or 10, I'm looking backups, and Michael Pittman's sitting there, and I see a lot of guys with question marks ahead of him. I wouldn't hesitate. So, all right, we got real quick. Do we have any questions from the contributors today?
I have a statement for the people listening. It's you want your top guy, that's fine, but don't overgo with the wide receivers. There's so much value later on that you can wait. Get your top contributors at running back, especially maybe tight end even. But once you get to that, after that's maybe number 2 receiver, you can wait. I mean, even after the number 1, you could probably wait. If you have that one guy, just wait on that value for later on in the draft.
I wish you had saved that for your final thought, because that's an exceptional thought.
I'm sorry.
It is.
I hope you have something good to follow that up with for your final thought, because you kind of set the bar high now.
Okay, look, I'm sorry.
Sean, don't say anything. That is your final thought.
Huh?
Do you have a question?
I said, don't say anything. That's your final thought.
There's been, but Marquise Brown, there's been a big jump with him recently, from what I've seen. Do you think he's gonna be able to make that next jump and be a number 2? I mean, he's back in number 3 right now, but can he make that jump?
Easy answer is no. Cinch?
No? Okay.
I say yes. I say it's the second year in an offense last season that ran it more than any other team in NFL history. So what's everybody going to do when you play the Ravens this year? You got to stop the run. So if you stop the run, that's going to open up single coverage for him on the outside. So if he stays healthy, he could excel.
Craig,
for me, why do I keep saying my name? It's so weird. Anyway, my question to you guys is, who do you think is the most undervalued receiver? Fantasy.
Undervalued, okay.
I say Juju Smith-Schuster. Last season, he had no quarterback. It was a mix-up of 3 different guys. After Ben got hurt, the other 2 guys were terrible. And now he's got his quarterback back. He was a veteran last season that once the quarterback was gone and he had a little injury, they said, just take your time. Don't rush back. So I think this season, I'm putting a lot on Ben being healthy, but he's not that old. I think Juju is going to have a big season this year.
Sean?
Mine's going to, I know. Mine's going to be
Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson.
Are you serious?
What? We have him at what, 18?
Cinch was right. You should have stopped with your final thought.
Oh my God. Allen Robinson is a good talent. And I know the quarterback situation in Chicago is bad, but PPR, Allen Robinson, you are going to have the opportunity to draft him at value. Do it. If you have him there at value, I think you should do it.
For me, it's Calvin Ridley. I think Atlanta is
definitely.
going to take a step forward. I think Calvin Ridley. There are two groups of people. There are people who think Calvin Ridley is a top 5 sneaky pick, and there are people who think he's going to be like wide receiver number 30. There's very few people in that middle camp, and I just need to be sitting in a draft full of people that are sitting there going, I don't trust Matt Ryan, and wait until the 9th round and snatch him up and then laugh all the way to the championship. So we're just about out of time, guys. Do we have anything for final thoughts? Who wants to go first for final thoughts?
I'll do it.
Go for it, Cinch. What do you got for us?
My final thought was listening to Craig talk before when he praised Burrow. Joe Burrow, before last season, was looked at as a 2nd-round pick. So I'm just wondering if the Bengals didn't have the 1st pick, they had the 2nd pick, and a team like the Dolphins took Burrow. Would you be as high on him as you are with him now being your quarterback on the Bengals?
So if they took Burrow with a 2nd pick, or even if they took
someone...
If Burrow was a Dolphin.
If Burrow was a Dolphin? Yeah,
yes.
No, there is no denying his talent.
He had a great season.
Out of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, I would have been happy with any of them. I just think Burrow, given his background, given he's from Ohio, he grew up a Bengals fan, I just feel like it's a perfect fit.
Okay. All right. So, Craig, what do you got for your final thought?
My final thought is kind of what Sean mentioned before, what should have been his final thought, but I do agree. Is after those,
was well done.
It was after those first 5 guys. Don't go crazy if you don't get a receiver, in the 2nd round or 3rd round or whatever, because there's so much depth and value at receiver this year. That's definitely not something you should really stress about with how many guys are out there.
All right, Sean.
Well, apparently I already said my final thought, but
I'm giving you a shot at the second one. It was a great thought. I'm just like, oh my God, why isn't he saving this to close with? It's so good.
It is. It was, and I just couldn't wait to say it. But again, those later value rounds is just you can get number 2s on every team later on that would be a flex option if you're starting 3, even if you're starting 3 wide receivers. You can get those good flex options later on in the draft. Christian Kirk, Harry, Samuel,
T.Y. Hilton,
Fuller, maybe even. Who knows down there? Yeah. So that's my final thought. Is just wait on that value.
I'm going to kind of bridge that. My final thought between what both Craig and Sean said. We're talking about the depth of wide receiver. I don't know that I've ever, and I think I said this last year too, and I have to eat my words from last year because I'm going to say it again now. I don't think I've ever seen depth at wide receiver like I've seen this year. The depth is it is amazing at wideout. I have done 4 drafts now this year, and every time I have gone running back heavy and stayed within value. I haven't reached for running backs too much.
Yeah, don't reach to wait for that value. If you have a wide receiver that's worth that pick, take him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I've gone running back strong and heavy early, and at no point have I looked at the wide receivers in front of me and said, oh man, I should have gone wide receiver earlier instead of that extra running back, because the depth has always been there. If anything, the problem has been a ridiculous wealth of riches where, like I said, in the Scott Fish Bowl, we were looking at Lockett or Metcalf. They were both sitting there. I think it was like round 8, and they're both sitting there in a 12-team draft. And I'm like, I don't know what to do because they're both really good options. And that's a good problem to have. When you're sitting there saying to yourself, okay, we're only 1 pick away and there's 2 guys on the board and I'm happy with either, that's a good problem to have. And that's the situation with wide receivers this year. So just something to keep in mind. Give us a review wherever you listen to us. Apple, on iHeart, on Player FM, on Stitcher. Please reach out to us via email at fignutsdfs@gmail.com. We are also on Facebook at the Football Fignuts Podcast on Facebook. And you can reach out to us on Twitter I hate Twitter, at FignutsDFS on Twitter. We will be off for the next week, but we will be back the week of, I'm pulling up my calendar, the last week of August. Probably an episode releasing on, I'm checking my dates, the 27th. We'll be off to the 27th, but we'll be back with one more roundtable for tight ends, kickers, and defenses. And then, folks, believe it or not, we are just a week away from Labor Day weekend. We are right into the middle of draft season. So we will be, it'll be go time at that point. We'll try to get back in the first week of September before a lot of drafts happen. But if your drafts happen at the end of August, we'll get that information out for you. So, again, leave us a review. Thank you so much to our guests for joining us, Cinch and Sean. Amazing as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Always love to have you guys on. So until next week, my name is Britt.
I'm Craig.
And we are the Football Fignuts Podcast. Have a great week, everybody.
Hi, Deb.